Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro. Now, $3.04 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 0.8%. Bitcoin, look at this, 87,400. Everything is off, right? And Ethereum, 2,900, was over 3,000 just the other day, yesterday. So Tether right now, obviously in number 4 spot, BNB, but number 5 spot, XRP, holding 185 now. We're off 1.1 in the 24. We're off 4.7 on the 7-day. Again, the entire market is still off. We will keep an eye on it. We're ranging between 181 and 188. So there you have that. And we will talk about some new lows in a second. But what I want to talk about right now is Realty Mark, ladies and gentlemen, where you can get the most beautiful properties with the most beautiful access to the best beaches in the world. The most white, silky, sandy beaches, the clear blue-green water. I'm telling you, this is a remarkable opportunity. And I've gone down there and found out for myself, I absolutely want to get a condo for my family so we could take vacations down there whenever we want to. Look at places like this. The ones I'm showing you today are in about a 575, little less range per 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. You get all the amenities of the facility, right? Access, walk right out to the beach from your condo. Gorgeous, gorgeous properties, ladies and gentlemen. You can make about $90,000 a year renting this out. And that's just during the season. That's just during the actual summer season, right? So really, really remarkable opportunities. And I tell you something, if you reach out to the Gulf of America, XRP.com, the link underneath any one of my videos, you can reach out and you could talk to Daniel. And you could get onto the mailing list and tell him what you're interested in. They have properties from 200,000 range on up. And it's the sky's the limit. And you tell them exactly what your needs are, and they're going to make it happen for you. Gulf of America, XRP.com. Lots of people down there looking at properties right now. Here we go. Take a look at this. Talking about price, we're going to start out this way. The Gaussian channel for XRP indicator is hinting we could go as low as 160 or 150. Price and tag that mark before a major breakout potentially. After both the upper and mid regression bands fail to hold as support, price must close below 180 multiple times to validate this scenario. So keep an eye out. We may be here for a minute, and then we come back from the technical news, which this is, right, looking at charts and price action, and then come back to the fundamental news and realize that we're still waiting for the Clarity Act. We're still waiting for a Fed master account or the skinny account. So that is something that is still in front of us, and we know that there's suppression over the market because we don't have the Clarity Act. Wanted to drop this on everybody very quickly. X is the #1 source of news on Earth. As breaking, X app downloads are exploding worldwide. The platform now ranks as the #1 news app in 167 countries worldwide. Take a look at this right here. And by the way, X money is rolling out too, so keep your head on a swivel for that. As we sit at $1.85 right now, 1.4 billion plus in total assets under management in dollar form for the 7 ETFs that are now out for XRP, one of which is an index with XRP in it, I believe. 745 plus million XRP, almost 1% of the supply locked up for ETFs. And we're just getting started, right? And Wisdom Tree, right, which we know working with XRP is another clear benefit, says XRP is another clear beneficiary, particularly in the realm of cross-border finance. Its enterprise integrations and regulatory clarity in the U.S. Ripple's legal outcome position as well for the financial institutions seeking compliant alternatives to SWIFT. So I could go on and read these things and shout out to Smoke Dog, give him a follow, but you get the gist of it. That's why everybody's so excited about regulatory clarity, right? Is to get that legal framework laid out for the market infrastructure, because largely XRP's ledger is going to serve as major market infrastructure for a lot of traditional finance. And in order for that to happen, we have to have the legislation. And this is what the luxury for Bitcoin maximalists and tribalists out here to run their mouth and talk a lot of trash on assets like XRP and others, right? Because XRP is designed specifically to work inside a legal framework. So until we have that, you don't see all of the crazy breakouts and this, that, and the other. Now, yes, people will say, we had a breakout in 21, we had a breakout in 2017, 2018. It's like, yes, we did. But now that we have gone through 5 years of a court case, there's a reason for all of these things. There's a reason why we're here now. There's a reason why the Genius Act was passed before the market infrastructure bill, right? I think that's a clear incentive right there that the U.S. government makes more selling the debt of the U.S. government than it does in taxation, right? Ripple ranks 9th among the potential largest IPOs in 2026, as it is here on the number 9 list. Look at this, giving it a $50 billion valuation currently right now today. You know, when will they go for an IPO, or will they not? I don't know. You know, they don't need the money. Brad Garlinghouse has said that multiple times. But it's quite remarkable that they sit that high on the list. It's pretty crazy. And that list of all of those things is quite remarkable. Look at it. Let's take a look at this, though. Look at this. 3.430 billion XRP traded in 24 hours. Now, the article here does suggest inside that that could be a sign or a hint of a reversal. But then again, you have to remember what we just saw when I opened up the video with the chart at potentially going lower to 150, 160. So we don't know if this is really a reversal or not. That's why I wanted to play these two pieces in this video today. It's a head on a swivel moment. You got to, you know what I mean? You got to just step back. I mean, this is literally one of those times for me where I'm glad that I know what I know about Ripple, the company, and XRP, the asset, and the plans for it. Because if I didn't, I would be very concerned right now, right? I would be very concerned with where things are. But I realize that the legislation itself, and certainly the Fed master count, is such an enormous deal now. And because we've had 5 years of suppression from regulators, then we understand that this is natural, that this is by design. And now that they're untying all of the suppression, the rules, the regulations, the bylaws, and this, that, and the other, and passing actual laws, this is clearing the way for the rest of the world, certainly traditional finance, to adopt this technology where applicable for themselves. We're getting there. In fact, this is a sign of that step. DTC's move to bring U.S. Treasuries on chain, ladies and gentlemen, highlights growing institutional momentum behind tokenized real-world assets. That's absolutely true. We're talking about the Canton Network that we just covered the other day. I've gotten some messages about that. Brad, are we getting shut out? You know, we'll have to see what happens. I don't believe so. What I believe with the Canton Network is that simply what we're seeing here is that the elites of traditional finance have said, you know what, let's make our own network. However, I think Charles Hoskinson has the perfect overview of this. I don't think it is to shut us out. I mean, I think they're trying to have their own market share grab for sure. But what I'm saying is that Canton Network would be a layer in between DTC, Canton Network, and then other protocols like Ethereum, Ripple, the company, and XRP Ledger, right, and other ADA and Cardano, right, Cardano. That's the way I see that. Like, it's just a layer in between the traditional finance and the new protocols and innovation that can be used. However, I think Charles says this really well here. He says, I love it when I see legacy finance come together with Canton and try to build what XRP and Midnight are already doing at scale 100 times beyond their ambitions. These guys never learn and don't understand what makes Web3 unique and meaningful. And then the person says, scale 100 times? And he says, going after that $10 trillion real world asset market, there are no half measures or half technologies. You need an end-to-end strategy, great partners, and great communities. You can't fake Cardano or XRP Nation. He's absolutely right. You're late to the dance, right? That's what we're talking about here. In recent months, several traditional financial institutions like State Street, BNY Mellon, Ripple Partner, have partnered with Canton Network to advance real-world asset tokenization. So understanding that and that there's this struggle for dominance, I think it still comes down to what Charles has said here. And I think it actually lays into what I've mentioned as well, that Canton Network will sit between, because think about the way Swift is, right? Swift came out with GPI, right? Swift said they were working with R3 early, and I felt like back then, years and years ago, I was like, well, that would make sense. Like Swift was trying to isolate its customer base, the 11,000 plus banks, from the competitor with this new innovation, having direct access to them. And this keeps Swift, in power and relevant, right? And in control, because they're not releasing direct contact to their actual client base. So I see this much the same way, but we'll have to see more time pass before we really truly understand it. But that's what it appears to be at this moment. And then obviously, do you think it's going to be bad for Ripple or Circle or Fidelity or Paxos or BitGo? Because they were all just issued federal trust charters from the OCC overseeing the entire U.S. banking system. So it is obvious they are positioning these entities to move into a place where they are just as regulated as the rest of the banking system. So somebody's planning on using it. And here we see evidence that somebody is buying it up, and it's a XRP ETFs are absorbing supply fast, says Unknown DLT. She says from this chart here, or he or she, I don't know who it is, but Unknown DLT says from this chart, with only 1.5 billion XRP left on exchanges and 750 million absorbed in weeks, a supply shock is likely by early 2026. This aligns with the Clarity Act, forcing price discovery and enabling real institutional use. 2026 is the inflection point where XRP shifts from speculation to global liquidity infrastructure. So on this chart, wherever they found this information, you can see it's showing 1.5 billion, right? And that the supply is low. Now, if they don't replenish supply on exchanges, this could be something to note. That's the question here. Are they going to replenish supply and you wake up tomorrow morning and there's now 2.5 billion serving the exchanges based on what's been doled out? We don't know yet, right? But nonetheless, again, this is another factor to put on your bingo card. Like, let me see if this hits, if this becomes relevant into the new year or not. And if it does around the Clarity Act, wow, that really could be something worth paying attention to. But nonetheless, it is still exciting that all of these entities have been issued federal trust bank charters. This is a remarkable step forward, a historic step forward, in fact, right? And it is Ripple that we're all really focused on, even though we know, look, there's even more bullish support for the idea and understanding that it's not just Ripple that got a national bank trust charter, right? So it is these other entities as well. So you can see that there is a massive move to allow certain entities that have worked very hard in transparency, compliance, and being highly regulated before it was the way to be, that has now set them up for what I believe success in the years to come. And that is because they've been awarded these national trust bank charters. See, sometimes it does make sense and it does pay to take the high road, right? Shortcuts might get you there, but it doesn't mean you'll be the same when you get there. And nonetheless, when everybody gets these trust charters fired up and we get the market infrastructure bill, I think we may see a scenario just like what Ashish Birla from the world's largest institutional XRP treasury says right here. Because once all of that is in place, Fed master account, market infrastructure bill passed, we got the trust charters in place, and then the banks start using these new companies with the trust charters inside the banking system. And then maybe we see something like this.
At Evernorth. And that is how things get started. But maybe in the future, you'll see central banks and others also want to hold digital assets.
Not financial advice from me or anyone else.